Welcome to Dicta, your weekly dose of law school and bar exam info. I'm Carrie Ann.
And I'm Puyan, and we're the co-founders of Vinco. So this week, we're going to talk about dealing with relationship stress during law school.
What relationship stress during law school?
Well, relationship. So we're going to discuss two scenarios. Mm-hmm. One of them involves being in a relationship with a significant other who is not in law school. And the other is going to involve dealing with someone who is in law school, whereby both people in the relationship are in law school. Right? So
that explains it.
My girlfriend and I were in a relationship all throughout law school, but she was not in law school. She was in a different professional program, which, according to her, was just as stressful as law school.
And it probably was.
Yeah, well, so I would frequently say to her, listen, I can't hang out with you because I need to study for this. And she would say, well, I have to study for things too, but I still make time to study for you. And I would foolishly say things like, you don't understand how hard law school is. Like, your program is like easy compared to law school. Law school is the most stressful thing you could ever go through. And she really didn't appreciate the fact that I was minimizing her stress.
Shocking.
Yeah. I learned very quickly to adjust my tone and the way I was speaking about my stress, and to be more accommodative of like how she was dealing with my stress and her stress. So the lesson to be learned here is, don't assume that just because you're in law school, you're dealing with something more stressful than other people are dealing with. Stress is really relative. And that's true for law school and even when you have a job afterwards, whether your spouse, significant other, whatever, is in the same profession as you or in a different profession. Don't think that yours is superior or that you're more stressed out than they are.
And certainly if you think it, don't communicate it.
Yeah, that's the takeaway. Just keep your mouth shut.
So what else? Is there anything else specifically difficult about being in a relationship with someone who wasn't in law school?
I mean, I'm not sure if this is universal, but we lived about 40 minutes away from each other. She was in a professional program in Queens while I was doing my law school in Westchester County in New York. So frequently I would only be able to see her on weekends and just for one day, because the other day on the weekend I would have to be prepping for my week of school. And there were times like during final exams where I wouldn't even be able to see her on the weekends. So we would go, I recall going up to 3 weeks one time without seeing each other, and it really was stressful. Yeah, I mean, that's really what was stressful for me.
And I happen to know that this relationship is still ongoing, so how did you problem solve, like, some of those things?
Well, I mean, this is a little beyond the scope of this video, but communication really was key. I had to realize that I needed to adjust the way I was communicating. A lot of the stress that was being caused was really my fault, and I had to realize that and come to terms with that and make changes. Some of it was her fault too, but she also did a great job at making adjustments and being really accommodating, especially when it came time to studying for the bar exam, which we have a whole different video on that. That's where like relationships go to die if you don't have good communication skills.
That could be a make or break moment.
So yeah, as a matter of fact, I think us dealing with this during law school really prepared us for dealing with like the extreme stress that we dealt with while I was taking the bar exam and she was not.
Yeah.
So how about you?
Yeah. So I had a slightly different law school experience. I had a significant other who was a law student at the same law school.
Were you guys in the same grade?
No, we were not in the same class because this is law school and not elementary school.
I mean, same year.
No, we were in different year. I was a year ahead of him, but we were the same age, just for the record. So there are downfalls to that situation as well. So we got to spend a lot of time together because we went to the same law school, but we spent a lot of time together because we went to the same law school. So we were always in each other's space. I didn't go to a particularly big law school, so there was sort of no getting away from one another.
Oh, man.
So that can be hard. So I would say a workaround for that is make sure you protect some private, like, personal time if you're in a relationship with somebody who you go to law school with, because you're going to see them. Maybe you'll see them in class, or maybe you're eating lunch together every single day and then seeing each other every night. Just make sure that there's some time for just you in that equation. That could be hard.
So let me ask you, I mean, you guys took the bar exam at different times, right? Assuming you both took the bar exam. I know you did.
I did take the bar exam. Yes, I did. So we luckily did not have to go through that situation because we broke up before it was his time to take the bar exam.
Oh, lucky.
But surviving 2 bar exams in a relationship can be incredibly hard. And while I didn't experience that personally, I've seen that with some of my students who are in a relationship or even married to a fellow classmate, and one passes the first time and one doesn't.
Oh, man.
So now maybe you're in different years, so now you've gone through studying for the bar twice, and now you have to go through it a third time. And most relationships are lucky to survive 1 time of taking the bar exam, forget 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So that could definitely be really hard. And if you're in the same year or interested in the same field, there's this element of competition that then gets brought into your relationship, and that's not healthy. That kind of competition is not good for a relationship. So it would be helpful if you had different interests at the very least, or you were just, as you said, communicating about it so that no one's feeling like left behind.
So, like, hypothetically, in a situation where a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife, or spouses are taking the bar exam at the same time, and one of them passes and one of them fails, I imagine resentment would build, or something, anger, self-pity, whatever, a whole series of emotions that we'll probably discuss in a different video. What would you recommend, if anything? I mean, I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
I mean, I've actually seen this more than once, so it's just a few things can happen, right? The person who passed will feel bad for the person who failed, and nobody wants to be like pitied. You want sympathy or you want empathy, but you don't want to feel like you're less than, especially your spouse or your significant other. So that can create that situation.
You want to feel equal.
Right. And then the person who failed will feel likely inferior and self-conscious and like they weren't good enough. So definitely, I mean, I honestly think the best thing to do, even if you think you're handling that well, is probably to go see a therapist and get professional help to deal with that situation, because you're about to go into another high stress situation of now retaking the bar exam, and you want to make sure that your shit at home is taken care of. That's really the best thing that I could advise.
Yeah, and I could see myself, if I had not had the experiences that I had, minimizing my significant other's second bar exam, saying stupid things like, all you have to do is put the time in, or it's not that hard, just practice. And that,
like I did it, you could do
and that would not have gone very well.
that wouldn't fly with most people. So before we wrap this up, there's one important thing I want to get to about dating someone who goes to your law school. That relationship could end at some point while you are still both students at the same law school. So that's something you want to consider prior to getting into a relationship, because with any community or close environment, it's not just your business anymore. Everyone's going to know your business. So if you're a really private person who doesn't want people involved in your personal life, you might want to think about that before you start dating someone who you have to see every single day after you break up, and who everyone knows, oh, weren't you dating so-and-so? And it's like, yeah, I was. So before you can save yourself some of that awkwardness, if that's something that you really would dread. And you'd want to make sure that if you're getting out of a relationship with someone who you go to school with, that, this is the big leagues, you're a grown-up, so you have to handle it really in a mature and professional manner, because one day that person might be a judge before you, right? Like you were before, or opposing counsel, and they don't want to remember how spiteful and awful you were. So I think that's good advice.
Yeah, well, thank you for spending this time with us.
We hope we haven't scared you too much from just dating, period, while in law school.
If you have any questions or comments, please visit our Facebook page. We're always there to answer your questions, or for a more personalized setting, feel free to email Carrie Ann at vincoprep.com.
See you next week.